seem like these countries that are looked down upon, that are taking the bold step and making a change. So the stone which the builders reject have become the cornerstone, right? Kings and queens, your majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well and you're loving yourself and all, just like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you my esteemed subscribers. You're loved, celebrated, and of course appreciated. So there's been a military takeover in Madagascar. Something that started like a joke became so serious to the point where the president had to run for safety. He had run to his sponsor, and we are all aware who that sponsor is, to Emmanuel Macron in France. And at this point, Macron himself is thinking about his head, and he's going to add more trouble to Macron. Anyway, we are all aware that Madagascar was a former colony of the French government, and even after independence, so-called independence, because I keep asking this question, whenever African countries celebrate the remembrance of their Independence Day, I ask this question: are African countries truly independent from Europe and America? Are we truly independent from those superior powers that were, holding onto us so tightly prior to this time? And the answer is obvious. All of you know the answer, because the truth is that we are not independent. And this explains why he ran to France. Okay? Now, the youth were fed up with the situation that was going on, with the whole thing happening in Madagascar. Lack of electricity, lack of water, corruption in the government. And this is the similar thing happening in countries in West Africa. And that's why some Nigerians, after they saw this, they heard about the whole situation. They're like, why are they still seated, not doing anything? Living in a situation or a system of government where it's like these old grandfathers of ours who are sitting in power, who are refusing to go, are still loading it in a very, very critical way on the use of West African countries. And it's like their hands and their legs are tied. What can they do? So what I'm saying is that this poses as a challenge to a lot of Nigerian youth, and they are beginning to voice out. They are beginning to ask themselves, why does it seem like we cannot do the same thing that is happening in Madagascar? Does it mean that these leaders have done something to our brains? Why can't we do that? And the same question has been posed on the military system of countries in West Africa. What are you all doing? Are you not seeing the change that is happening around the world? People are tired. Like, the reason why this has to happen is because it was up here. People were tired of the whole situation, and that is why they have to take the bull by the horn and kick out this president by force. Now, why the whole thing was a little bit funny for me was, these presidents of ours always think that they have upper hand on every situation. They never knew that the military were also prepared for this whole thing. Sending the military to this youth to go pipe down situation, and at the end, I don't know what this youth did to this military, that this military agreed to work with them and take over this power. So presently, as we speak, the military are in charge of Madagascar. And I don't know what African Union will do at this point, because all the countries that have staged coups and take over power, especially the Sahel nations, the African Union has suspended them. So what is the African Union going to do at this point? Are they going to suspend Madagascar as well? And the question I ask is, the reason why these military leaders take over power is so obvious. They've been whining, they've been asking, they've been pleading, change this whole system, change this system, things are not working. Stop this whole bribery in the system, the corruption in the system is too much. But these leaders will not hear until there is a military takeover.
Madagascar's political crisis continues to deepen as an elite military unit announced that it will take control of the armed forces. The same soldiers who once helped bring the President Andry Rajoelina to power have now switched sides to join anti-government protesters, as the President's office says an illegal and forcible attempt to seize power is underway in the country. Take a look. What began as demonstrations over water and electricity shortages in the island nation has now evolved into a full-blown political revolt. A team of elite soldiers, CAPSAT, made a declaration that it has taken charge of the military command, coming hours after the Madagascar presidency accused unnamed forces of attempting to overthrow President Andry Rajoelina in what is termed as an illegal and forcible seizure of power. The crisis marking the gravest threat to Rajoelina's rule since his disputed 2023 re-election, with the very soldiers who installed him through a 2009 coup now turning against him. The breakaway military personnel from the CAPSAT urged their comrades to stop following orders and instead back the youth-led uprising. The intervention forces of the National Gendarmerie said in a statement broadcast on Real TV that, and I quote, "All use of force and any improper behavior towards our fellow citizens are prohibited, as the Gendarmerie is a force meant to protect people and not to defend the interests of a few individuals." CAPSAT officers said on Sunday they had command over the country's security operations and would coordinate all branches of the military from their base on the outskirts of the capital, Antananarivo. They said they had appointed General Demosthenes Pikulas as head of the army. The current protests began in late September as the rallies against chronic water and electricity shortages, but have escalated into something bigger. Last week, President Rajoelina appealed to protesters to give him 1 year, pledging to step aside if his final effort to meet their expectations and regain public support fails. But the demonstrators, most of them young people and university students, are demanding that he resign, apologize to the nation, and dissolve the Senate and Electoral Commission. The United Nations says at least 22 people have been killed and more than 100 injured since the protests erupted. However, the government disputes these figures. The announcement by members of the CAPSAT unit has marked a dramatic turn in the country's week-long political crisis. After the soldiers broke ranks and they escorted thousands of protesters into May 13 Square, a symbolic site for political uprisings that had been sealed off and heavily guarded throughout the last few weeks in the capital, Antananarivo.
Some major international breaking news. Now, the president of Madagascar, that is Andry Rajoelina, is now believed to have fled the country to an unknown destination, though there are speculations that he might have fled to France because he left the country aboard a French military aircraft. Now, the country has witnessed protests since the 25th of September, and although they began due to water and power shortages, the youth are now demanding that the president steps down, and in addition, they are raising broader governance issues. Now, remember, that a key military wing also differed with the president, dumped him, and this is what might have prompted him to flee the country, of course, in anticipation of a possible coup. Now, in addition to that, opposition members of parliament are also preparing an impeachment motion against him. So for him, fleeing the country was sort of a situation of damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Your Majesties, I'll keep leaving some other clips while we have some little chat, right? Now, something similar happened over 2 years ago, and it gave birth to the Sahel Alliance, or the Alliance of the Sahel States. Now, to see that the military stand with the people is a joy that I have, right? Sometimes some of these leaders think that they have control over everything, and that is why they do whatever they want to do, make decisions that they want to make without thinking about the people. But to always see that the military will always stand with the people is the joy for me. The same thing happened in the Sahel. When this military took over power, the people stood with the military. And now the people agitated and the military took side with the people, not the leaders, not the elite, not the government. Is this not something beautiful? Now, I see something similar to the Sahel happening here. And should I not be happy? As a well-meaning African, I should be happy, not because of the chaos going on, but for the singular truth or the fact that people can stand up and say, no, enough is enough. This is what countries in West Africa cannot do. We are seeing it happening in this island nation. What countries, giants of Africa, countries that attempt to be giants of Africa cannot do, we are seeing countries that are lower, you might not every day hear something about them. The question I have is that, why does it seem like these countries that are looked down upon that are taking the bold step and making a change. So the stone which the builders reject have become the cornerstone, right? So countries you never expect that a revolution can start from are countries that are changing the story of Africa. These are countries that are changing the narrative. Just seeing the people protesting and seeing that the soldiers are beside them protecting them, it gives me goosebumps. It gives me that feeling of there is still hope for Africa. You know, people like us sometimes when we see situations that are not really good about the continent, it hurts us so much that we ask questions like, when would this stop? When would there be a change? When are we going to record a change, like a turnaround story? So when we see situations like this, we are happy that the people are aware that they have the power. And this is exactly what we keep saying every day here, especially when we analyze issues like this. As citizens, as the masses, the power is still in your hand. You only need the push. This can only happen when we have leaders who are not really doing their job or doing according to the promises that they had made to the people when they were elected into power. Your Majesties. So this is it. The youths are not scared of anything. They know that they are doing the right thing. Enough is enough. We are tired of this situation. And they took the bull by the horn and they made the change that they wanted. They became the change that they wanted. Remember that Nigerian senator who said that Nigerian youth cannot change Nigeria? He said that with his full chest. He gave the reason why he feels that Nigerian youth cannot change Nigeria. Because they have misplaced their priorities. Nigerian youth have misplaced their priorities. And so when I saw a lot of Nigerians, trying to say, okay, what is really wrong with us? Why is it that it seems like we can't do what these people are doing? Why can't we come out and force this change to happen? There are a lot of other factors. A lot of other factors. Will the military support Nigerian youth when they rise up to do similar thing? These are questions that come to mind. Or are these military as corrupt as the political leaders? These are questions that run to mind. You ask these questions because sometimes you don't even have the answer. Because you don't know what to say, you don't know what to believe anymore. It takes a military that truly want the good of a nation to do what this military did in Madagascar. Now, this is why I keep saying here that it is in our hand as Africans to change situation in any part that we are in, either by what we say, by the change we becoming the change which we want. These youth became the change which they want. They confronted the government, and of course, the government ran away. So those governments you see with going up and down, all the governments do not have any power. It is the power that the masses give to the government that the government have. This is exactly what we've seen. The recent protests around the world, where we see Gen Zs taking over the streets, going to the streets, protesting, making their voice heard, telling the leaders that it is them that voted them into power. They are the ones that voted them into power. Now, in the case of countries in West Africa, a lot of things are factors that are affecting. Youth cannot really come out to do most of the things that we see happening around the world. These leaders are aware that if these youth are not preoccupied by one or two things, they would begin to reason correctly, accurately, and one day overtake. So they're busy then with drugs. Give them some petty money, turn them into gangsters, turn them into political thugs, and spoil their lives with drugs. Okay, most of the youth in countries in West Africa today are all carried away by, quick money. They are all into drugs. You see? And this thing is addiction. When you're addicted into something, you bow to the person that gives to you every day. Quick money, they can do anything for money to come. So they don't even care about politics. They don't even care about what is happening in their nation. And I keep saying it here. If you want a change, you have to be involved in politics. It is because these youth around the world are aware that if they are involved in this thing, they will know how to fight for the right thing. That is why the right thing is happening for them. What do you think about this situation? Leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section. I will see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive, always, Your Majesties. Bye for now.